How far did you come to be with us? Hey. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time joining in, my name is Cathy. I am a South African expat who's recently made the move from Dubai to Perth with my husband and our little girl, and then our fur baby, Alula, who made the long journey all the way from Dubai as well. And today's video is going to be all about how we got this gorgeous girl to be with us here in Australia. A lot of ups and downs, but overall her journey went really smoothly, and I just wanted to share our story and our experience so that anyone else who has to send their little fur baby all this way can have some reassurance and just find a bit of hope and inspiration from, getting your pet here at the end of the day. So getting your animal to Australia is not a cheap undertaking. It's not necessarily very difficult, but there's a lot of admin involved and a lot of paperwork and vet checks and certain things that you have to do. So yeah, it is a process, and I just wanted to shed light on what's going to be involved so that you're well prepared when you are starting to consider immigrating and bringing your beautiful pets with you. When it comes to immigrating with your pets and your plans to ship them across, first and foremost, it is a really expensive thing to do. But if you are like us and pets are family and it's just really not an option to leave your pet behind, and yeah, it's something you are going to be doing, then this video is for you. It's definitely something I understand not everyone can do, because sometimes people have to immigrate on short notice and moves happen really quickly and they just don't have the infrastructure in place to take their pets with them. So no judgment from my side. I know it's a very difficult situation that people face when they have to leave their pets behind, and I'm so grateful every single day that we were able to bring our Luli dog with us. And I hope that for those who are in the position that they want to and are able to bring their dogs or cats with them, this video can shed some light and help you guys out. Those of you who are not familiar with our story, we immigrated from South Africa to Dubai in 2016, and we built a life there for ourselves and lived there for 5 years. So we adopted Luli into our family in 2018, and that makes her 4 years old. She's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, and she's just the most precious little doggy, and we just adore her. So when it came time for us to consider leaving Dubai, we were definitely prepared and had been doing a lot of research on what it's going to take to immigrate with our pets and leave Dubai with her. However, our plans did change slightly in that we didn't move directly from Dubai to Australia. We actually took some time off and we went home for 6 months to visit our family in South Africa. So due to COVID, and we'd had our little girl, none of our family was actually able to meet Nova, our daughter, so we decided we needed to take that time off before we moved halfway across the world. And that meant Luli could not come with us from Dubai to South Africa and then again from South Africa to Australia. It would have just been too much traveling, we felt, for her. It would have been too expensive for us to afford to ship her to South Africa and then on to Australia, and it also would have complicated her medical history with regards to coming to Africa, where there are quite a few animal diseases that the UAE and Dubai do not have. So it would have been a more straightforward process just to send her straight to Australia. We were able to rely on some amazing friends to host Alula and care for her for 6 months while we were able to spend some time with our family. It was a really hard time apart, and we experienced delays, so we actually only ended up being reunited with Alula in about 9 months' time. So that brings me to the first real point of this conversation, and that would be whether or not you're going to be using an agent or if you're going to be exporting your pet independently by yourself. And for our situation, for our circumstances, it made so much more sense to appoint an agent because we knew we were not going to be in the country Alula was exported from when she had to go. So we needed someone on the ground who was prepared to take her to necessary ministry visits or take her to vet visits to get all of her shots and documents in order. And we didn't really want to impose that responsibility on our friends, although I'm sure they helped us out, and they did help us out on so many occasions. We just really felt an agent would be able to get the ball rolling and not put pressure on people who were already helping us out. So the main thing with using an agent is they do this all the time. They have a huge network of people in various countries who they rely on to give them the correct information for importing the pet when the pet arrives in your country or destination country. And an agent also has very clear directions on what you need to do at your local vet, what type of vaccinations and blood tests they need to do. We just felt so guided by the whole process and a lot more relaxed knowing that we had a professional in charge. It also meant that if anything were to go south or there were any issues with Alula's blood work or her traveling or anything like that, we had an agent who was way better prepared at handling an unforeseen situation as to what we would have been. So yeah, we absolutely would recommend Snoopy Pets. I will tag them down below. We dealt with Lindsay. She was super communicative, so understanding about our situation. Her customer service was incredible, and we just really had peace of mind knowing that Alula was in her care and that she was going to get Alula on the flights safely. It's definitely worthwhile getting a few quotes from different agents. We must say that the agents came back quite similar with regards to exporting and importing a pet. What swayed us to go with Snoopy Pets and with Lindsay was a referral from a friend. And I would strongly recommend that you look for referrals, be it on Facebook, or if someone you know has made a move and has recently used an agent. I think a referral just gives you so much more to go on. And we had friends who shipped their little Scottish Terrier across, and they used this company, and she just came highly recommended from people we knew and trusted. And I will do a thorough cost breakdown of what the total amount was, but just as an idea, the agent's total fee came to about 17% of the total cost, which we thought was so worth the money. And definitely, if we had to immigrate again, I really hope we're not going to. I think this is home, but we would definitely be making use of an agent again, knowing what we know now. Right, then I also just want to emphasize when it comes to the cash that you do have to have obviously cash on hand to make a lot of payments. There are deposit payments that you pay, and then you are able to pay the balance closer to the time of flying. But I would strongly recommend, if you are planning on immigrating, maybe you don't have an exact timeline, maybe it's only in a year or two, start saving for your pet to travel with you like right now. It's really expensive. It cost us actually a little bit more than it cost to send a 40-foot container of our household goods from Dubai to Australia. So yeah, it's not a cheap experience, and I just feel like if you start saving now, it means when it comes time to immigrate and move, you're more likely to be able to take your pet with you. And I think that's just got so much value to it. You don't have to stress about trying to gather money or have to rehouse or home your pet. So if you realize at that stage your savings goals, you're not going to be able to afford to take your animal anyways, you can already start looking for a home for them and just leave in a more organized and I think it's less stressful situation for yourself and for your pet. So from what I gather, it's much easier to export and import cats. They travel better and generally they don't have a lot of breed complications. So with dogs, you're going to need to consider what breed of dog you have. There are animals that don't travel as well. Alula is considered a snub-nosed breed, which means she's got a shorter muzzle. So any dog like a pug or a British bulldog, anything like that that's got a reduced sort of snout size, they don't travel very well in heat. So you might want to consider what season you're going to be shipping your animal. Couldn't actually ship her during the summer months, so she could only be shipped during the winter months. And I'm sure there are other dog breeds that have their own specifications, so you need to really reach out to an agent or a veterinarian and see what are the requirements for your specific dog breed. So the basic process when you decide to export your pets or immigrate with your pets, we reached out to the agent. She came and gave us a few quotes, and then they also do a house visit where they actually check on the size of your animal and make sure they can recommend the correct size travel crate for your pet. They want to make sure your pet's got a slightly bigger crate so that they can move around a little bit during the traveling. So don't be surprised when they send through quite a large dimension. Yes, it does cost a fraction more, but I'd rather, and I think most people would rather know their pet's got space to be comfortable. So yeah, the airlines have those standards for a reason. Once they've done that, they then will start referring you to a timeline that you need to follow for certain blood tests. So coming to Australia, they're incredibly protective of their natural fauna and flora, and therefore they need to make sure that domestic animals and pets are arriving in the country with no parasites or anything that could cause harm to the animals in Australia, which is perfectly understandable. It does mean that you need to get your pet to the vet quite often. In total, I think Alula had to visit the vet about 3 times, separate occasions. So they do parasite treatments, then they do blood tests a few weeks later, more parasite treatments, final blood test before they fly. So it's quite a lot of back and forward with the vet. The vets generally don't know or are not as up to date with what is required, and I found they relied heavily on the agent for that information. So for that reason alone, it was a great comfort to us knowing we didn't have to have exactly what the vet needed to do. The agent took care of it and stayed up to date on all of Alula's requirements. Once they have the crate in hand, and it's a few weeks before your pet travels, the agent will probably recommend the crate comes to your home or wherever your pet is staying, and that the pet's given the opportunity to sort of bond with their crate and just sleep in it, and you're going to feed them in it and give them toys and treats just so they have a positive association with it when the time comes to travel. The great thing about the agent is you sometimes do have to go to ministries or departments of agriculture and livestock and things like that to get stamps and documents certified before the pet can be exported, and the agent took care of all of that for us. So no one had to physically go to an office and stand at a department waiting for a stamp. She handled all of that, which was way worth the money, especially in a country like the UAE where, you know, English is not everyone's first language, and you would hate for something to get lost in translation with something so important. So you then will be able to go ahead and they book a flight for your doggy or your cat. But once your pet is all cleared from the vet, they have final blood work that they do and a final health check. Once that's all happened, and the agent will then usually arrange to collect the pets, and they will take them through to the airport, do all of the necessary clearances with customs to get your pets safely boarded on their flight. And I think as an owner, I would have been in the situation quite emotional. For an owner who is there, it's probably tempting to say goodbye to your pet, but I think for the pets, it's probably just a lot less traumatic than having you there crying and upset. We know how, they're just so in tune with your emotion. So I think it was actually much easier for Alula to do the journey as if she was probably going to a pet daycare and we were waiting for her on the other side. Part is obviously when you know your pet is in flight and you're going to log on to the airline's website and follow their flight number and obviously make sure that the flight lands safely, but you don't really have much information at this point until the flight lands and your pet is actually collected and then taken through to the quarantine facility. In Australia, the quarantine facility is a place called Mickleham. It's close to Melbourne. So obviously if you're not in that part of Australia, you're maybe in Perth like we are, or Sydney or Brisbane or wherever you are, it is quite difficult because you're still not going to be reunited with your pets at all for the next 10 days while they serve out their quarantine. So the quarantine facility was a worry for me. You just have visions of what a quarantine facility would probably look like and feel like to your darling pet. But we were really surprised that they took the time. I emailed them quite often and I called, and they knew Alula. They sent a very personalized email about her saying she's adjusting well and that she's enjoying playing ball, which I know is something she absolutely loves. So I feel like they really go above and beyond at this facility. And when we did get Alula back, she was in great condition and she was super bubbly and herself. So I know that they did a great job at looking after her. And I found it really helpful to go onto Facebook. I'm a huge fan of Facebook groups when it comes to information, and I found two groups that were really useful. So the first was Embark, EMBARK. I'll link them down below, and that group is basically about South Africans who are immigrating with their pets. It's pertaining to all over the world. So you have people moving to the States, the UK, Australia, Canada, all over the world. But I just found it a great source of information and also comfort, seeing everyone go through that journey. And the pet reunions are like the best thing ever. So yeah, we got a lot of information from those. Dogma, and that's a little bit more specific about people who are immigrating with their pets to Australia. So that's also great, and it came in handy. So check out those groups. I will link them down below, and I hope they help you as much as they did us. If we go down into cost and what it cost for us to bring this beautiful girl with us, hey. So we looked at a total of around 10,300 Australian dollars, give or take. So let me just break down the costing in perspective for you guys. So the vet bills cost us a total of 10% of that amount. Cost us 1.9% of that. The agent's fee was 17% of that. Quarantine was 21.9% of that, so it's quite a hefty amount. The airfare, international airfare, was 28% of that, but we also had to pay a domestic airfare for her to get from Melbourne to Perth, and that was 5% of that. Then the Australian agents, so the agent who cleared her for us at customs and then also arranged for transporting her to us here in Perth, that came to 6.55%. Her certification and documents, so those are things from like the Department of Agriculture in Dubai, or animals and all of that. So that came to 8.7%. It was a lot of money, and yes, that money could definitely have been put to use in other ways. Is it worth it? In our opinion, absolutely. We know that Alula is a young enough dog to make the move. She's of good health, and she is just such a valued member of our family. And we were fortunate enough to be able to bring her with us, and we've got absolutely no regrets. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope that you found this interesting, and I hope that it sheds a bit of light for you if you are looking to bringing your pets to Australia. Good luck to you and your little pets. I hope that everyone gets here safely, and try not to worry too much. I think people handling animals in transit really do love and care for your animal, and are going to do everything in their power to make sure your pet arrives safe and sound and is reunited with you. So that's it for today, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a viewer, and hope that my videos bring you some more information about what it's like setting up our lives here in Australia as new expats.